Welcome to Wickedshizuku's Reviews, bringing you a southern perspective on books, movies, music, and much, much more. Stick around for a while, you just might hear something wicked. Well, happy Wednesday, everyone. So, today was a busy day, and I'm getting to it later than usual, but we shall get to Wickedshizuku's thoughts on news. We're 8 now, aren't we? Okay. So, let's see. This was a Varney and Company from Fox Business. All eyes on DeSantis during Idalia. Now, that hurricane has definitely been hyped up a lot more. I'm not going to get into that.
We've got a new poll, and it was taken after Trump's mugshot. It shows 62% think Trump has the best
Get him, Orange Man. Get him.
chance of any Republican at beating Biden. Evita Duffy Alfonso is with me now. Would you say that the mugshot backfired?
Who are you?
Well, it 100% backfired. I think Democrats thought that this mugshot was going to solidify their narrative that Trump is a threat to democracy, that he's a criminal. And instead, it's become this symbol of people fighting the man. It's become this pop culture icon in the United States. There's people who, instead of thinking of this mugshot as a bad thing about Trump, they actually ended up identifying with it. So it's something that, you know, the Catholics who were surveilled by the FBI can identify with. The pro-lifers who were, had their homes raided by the FBI for peacefully pro-life protesting at abortion clinics. You had the people in Maui who are suffering from these fires as they're watching corrupt politicians and the deep state advocate for us to send bills.
That's the thing, everybody, that y'all need to realize. We are no longer in the world that we once were.
Billions of dollars to Ukraine. A lot of people see this mugshot as their same struggle with the system, with the deep state, and with the corrupt politicians in America.
On the other side of the coin, we've got 77% think
Vote them out. Vote them out. That's what I say. We got to vote them out.
that Biden is just too old to serve effectively a second term as president. Now, I don't think you can come back from that. How can you reverse the public's perception of your cognitive decline? What do you think?
He certainly does have it. There's no doubt about that. How bad is he? Tough to say. I've seen several examples in this area. It is so heavily infested, this area, since I was a young child. The rise in Alzheimer's in Northeast Alabama is absolutely pitiful. Is it the shit they're spraying in the cloud seeds? Who knows? Is it the forever chemicals that are in our damn water? Who knows? All I know that it's a combination that a lot more old folks are getting Alzheimer's, and there's even people that are starting to, young people are getting Alzheimer's. What the hell in this area?
Think.
I don't think you can, and it's really observable with Biden, right? People are watching him make these gaffes every other week, watching him literally fall, making an embarrassment out of himself in this country on the world stage. There's a place for people who are not doing well cognitively, who are in mental and physical decline, and it's not the White House. And I think a lot of people, even Democrats, are not happy with the way that Biden is projecting himself to the world.
What's the feeling amongst Gen Zers? I presume you are Gen Z yourself. I'm not going to for sure about that, but I think you are. All your friends, all the people that you know, they all think that Biden's too old?
They do, and it's a bipartisan thing, really. There's too many old people on the right and the left, and they're making decisions for this country that have consequences that they won't even be alive for when it really comes down to it. And so a lot of young people say we need young blood. I think that's why there's a lot of excitement around Vivek Ramaswamy, and it's a problem on both sides of the political aisle that both right and left Gen Zers are identifying.
All right, Evita, thank you very much for joining us this morning. I know we'll see you again real soon.
You wouldn't believe the change that can happen with just one daily habit. I dropped from 200 to 120 with this ancient island trick.
That's real cute.
Hey, this is Anna.
Liz Peek with me now this Wednesday morning. Liz, you agree with Nikki Haley, quote, a vote for Biden is a vote for Kamala Harris. You agree with that?
I do agree with that, Stuart. As you said, the president looks increasingly frail. He looks doddering. I mean, most Americans don't think he should be running.
What
Even
in the world
44%
is
of
up
Democrats
with her
think
neck?
he's really incompetent to stay in the Oval Office for 4 more years. And so you have to worry, if he's like this now, what's he going to be like 4 years from now? And it's because of his stubbornness and arrogance, qualities that we've just been reading about dominated the decision to get out of Afghanistan in the way we did, the disastrous pullout. He won't step aside, Stuart, even though I think he must be hearing from leaders of the Democratic.
No. No, they just don't want to tell the truth here. Everybody. They don't want to tell you the truth. That Kevin McCarthy would actually be the one to step up because Kamala Harris is not able to. They won't tell you that ugly truth. Y'all would just lose your blithering minds, wouldn't you? President McCarthy. And they're trying everything that they can not to let that happen. So, shame on you, Jill Biden. It's Jill Biden that's doing all of this. Remember Woodrow Wilson and his wife? He had a stroke. So when he was campaigning, or he was Woodrow Wilson was he had a stroke, and his wife was the one that was signing the legislation when it went to the White House. And the reason we didn't know this, and it's not common knowledge, unless you study, that Mrs. Wilson was signing legislation. So a lot of the bad legislation that was pushed through during that time was during Mrs. Wilson's time, and she was who could I actually compare her with on just, oh my god, that was such a bad idea scale? Elizabeth Cady Stanton and the Prohibition and what all of that shit led to. So let's continue with Liz Peek.
Democratic Party, that he has to do that because guess what? 44% of Democrats don't want him to run, only 13.
Oh, and let's also not forget all of the stuff that, Joe Biden is just, passing through or either sweeping under the rug about China, Romania, Kazakhstan, Afghanistan. How many other stands are involved? Huh? South America? And then you have the other alliance that is starting with BRICS nation.
Percent of Democrats want Kamala Harris to run for president. So this vice president that we have is incompetent, and all we need to do is look at her record on the border to make that assessment and to warn off Americans for voting for Joe Biden, because God forbid, with Kamala Harris takes over the Oval Office, if the way she treated our open border, the flood of illegal millions of migrants into our country, dismissing that with a sort of hysterical laughter, if that's how she's going to handle the other problems that confront our country, we do not want her in that position.
I think we've got a problem. The country has a problem. Liz Peake, thank you very
We
much
do.
for being with us. Yeah, we do indeed. Liz, thank you very much.
Loyal patriots, be on alert. A covert government warning has leaked and it's going viral. 97% of Americans don't even realize this chilling government report exists.
Good Wednesday morning, everybody. Thanks very much for joining us this morning. I'm Maria Bartiromo, and it is Wednesday, August 30th. It is just
going
before
down
7
again.
a.m. on the
Damn
East
it.
Coast. Time for the hot topic of the hour. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan raising concerns with the Department of Justice about Special Counsel Jack Smith's impartiality in his investigations. In letters to AG Merrick Garland and White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zientis, Jordan wants answers as to why Smith's top deputy, Jay Bratt, visited the White House earlier this year. Jordan writes this raises serious concerns regarding the potential for a coordinated effort between the Department of Justice and the White House to investigate and prosecute President Biden's political opponents. Here he is last night on Fox News at Night.
How many times have we heard Karine Jean-Pierre stand at the White House press briefing room and says the Department of Justice operates independent from the White House? We had no involvement in the Trump matter, no involvement in the Hunter Biden, no involvement whatsoever. Really? Well, then what happened at this meeting? Was Jack Smith sending Jay Bratt there? Was he like the proxy? Was he the go-between? We don't know what actually happened at this meeting. Who were they talking about? What took place? That's what we want to know.
Yeah, it's also quite suspicious, Joe Concha, that Georgia and the Department of Justice
Georgia,
wanted Trump's
oh
trial.
Georgia. There's so many things wrong in Georgia. Yes, there is.
The same day, March 4th. Was there coordination between the DOJ and Georgia as well? Your thoughts?
The answer to that is what happens on March 5th. That's Super Tuesday. It is the most consequential election day of the primary season. Joe Biden is President Biden now because of what happened on Super Tuesday in 2020. For instance, Donald Trump, who lost Iowa in 2016, remember, really started to pull away at Super Tuesday. So the whole point, if you're looking at this, if you're objective, sane, and sober, you understand that March 4th, that day was chosen for an exact reason. And that is to take the headlines away from all the other candidates, make it on Donald Trump, not about his policies, but about his legal challenges, so he gets the nomination, because his polls only go up, only to beat him in the general. This is all planned. This is all political, and a vast majority of Americans know.
And it's a drip, drip, drip of information here. I mean, when are people going to wake up and see this as what we're seeing?
For what
that
it is?
so political.
Well, the swamp is alive and well. That was one of the messages that got Trump elected. And I think if anything, we're hearing it over and over again, and it may ultimately get him reelected.
Yeah,
Right.
it's true. Well, look at these fundraising numbers. Kenny, I'm sorry. President Trump's fundraising efforts after that infamous mugshot was released proving to be lucrative. Fox News Digital reported that he's raised $9.4 million in a week. Just since last week, for all of August, he's raked in more than $20 million, underlining what you just said.
Right. Well, people recognize, it stinks.
Yeah.
It's just not right. Wait, 2 of the 4 indictments, and Joe, as you point out, they want to have the trial on the same day?
Same
The
day.
day before Super Tuesday. I mean, are you kidding me?
I know, and they just do it as if like we're
It's like-
not noticing, and the people don't notice it.
Yeah.
We all see what's happening.
That mugshot is going to go down in history as the iconic mugshot of the century, right?
Roland Sinatra?
I'm
a hold-up-ing guy, Okay.
Right?
I mean,
Just because they've made it that
You
way.
know what? Black America is also speaking out. There's a video. Do you see that video running online about various black men and women saying, you know what? You keep indicting him, we're going to unite. We're
Right.
all
Yeah,
in on
indict
Trump now.
equals
Yeah.
unite.
That's right.
Yeah.
And all they have to do is gain 2. If the Democrats lose 2% of that vote,
Mhm.
then Biden's out.
You mean Black America?
Black America.
Yeah.
If they lose 2% of that vote, Biden's out.
Yeah. So what do you think? I mean, where is this going in terms of the election? Can both of these candidates make it? I know your question.
Listen, I'm still in the belief that I think there's going to be two dark horses that show up that we don't know yet. I do not think it's going to be a Trump-Biden election in November of 2024.
Wow.
I actually think it's going to be, if you want my guess, I think it's going to be Youngkin, Newsom.
Well, we're going to be talking with Glenn Youngkin coming up in the show. Don't miss my exclusive interview with the governor of Virginia coming up. Glenn Youngkin is here joining us live. What did you want to say, Adam?
No, I'm fascinated by...
That's completely bizarre. How? I want to know where Larry Elder's in on this. I mean, why has Fox or Ronna McDaniel given any time to Larry Elder? They certainly don't want to debate that mister. Wonder why. I think he'd be an excellent vice president. Just saying. But who wants sense, huh?
By Kenny's take, I think that would make for a very interesting election. Youngkin, Newsom.
Yeah.
That would be something I would pay.
Do you want America to be Virginia or California?
Well, you don't want it to be California.
Virginia, thank you very much.
Yeah, Virginia, yes. California, no. But the Democrats, I think, at the convention are going to install him. They're going to take Joe out because suddenly he's going to have a health issue, and they're going to install Newsom. That's what I think is going to happen.
And you know, the one thing that actually does, well, there are a number of things that argue for Youngkin, but the thing that goes against...
That would actually open up a myriad of possibilities if that were to happen. If y'all got Gavin Newsom out of the governor's seat, y'all were able to get some sort of Republican who lives in California. There are so many Republican conservative actors that haven't made movies in a long time. And I have to wonder to myself, are those movie stars... Are they just so fabulously wealthy and don't need to make any more movies? Or could some of them actually step into the governorship? We certainly don't need Arnold back. We need somebody that's at least half educated. And with those test scores, it's got a shirt and sting for California now, huh? Poor Alabama. Got number 2 in the testing. I did check on that. So, hooray, Alabama.
Against Trump, there are 98 counts against him. He has to beat 98 counts.
Right.
That's going to be hard to do.
It's going to be hard to do, and it's...
Well, particularly where these juries are, right? That's what you have to look at.
Yeah.
If it's Washington, D.C., for example, where something like Donald Trump got single digits in terms of the vote in 2020, how are you going to find an impartial jury in a place like that? Joe wonders aloud.
Yeah.
Or Fulton County, and Georgia for that matter.
Well, the other thing the point that I've been making is, given the discovery process that needs to take place in all of these trials, Trump lawyers have to have access to what the DOJ has. That takes time.
Right.
How do you expect that to happen within the next 6 months before a March trial? So even Dershowitz, Jonathan Turley said the same thing. It's not going to happen before the election.
Right. Well, and even the Georgia trial alone, how many people have been indicted? 19.
Yeah.
So you're actually going to try to have a trial with 19 people. Trump is only one of them.
Right.
You're going to try to get
That place is going to be bananas. Georgia, please listen to me. Please, anybody from Georgia, do not go. Do not go. Show your loyalty with your flags on the street. At your homes. Don't go any further than that. Let it be let it be, kids, you can skip school day. You're not going outside. Just don't go out there.
that done over the next 6 to 7 months, not going to happen.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not the point, though. It's not to prosecute
Not the
Donald
point.
Trump. It's to
Right.
keep him in the news
Right.
in terms of this narrative and not talking about economy,
Right.
crime, border, education, foreign policy.
And
That
so
all
that-
goes off out the window.
So that people can question, wait a minute, do I want to vote for someone who's been indicted and who's you
Right.
know, a bad guy? Because that's what they're selling. Time for the hot topic of the hour. Shocking new emails obtained by Daily Mail reveal Hunter Biden helped devise the plan with Democrat strategists to, quote, close down ex-Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin's investigation into Burisma, where Hunter sat on the board. An email back in May of 2014 revealing that Burisma executive Vadim Posharsky emailed Hunter with a warning that the firm's owner was likely under criminal investigation in Ukraine. This is the National Archives and Records Administration admitted that it is in possession of nearly 5,400 emails,
Where's the
electronic
money?
records, and documents that potentially show President Biden using a fake name during his vice presidency. And of course, we've got a list
Where's
of those
the money?
fake names that he was using, aliases. Joe Contra, your reaction?
How much more evidence do we need at this point to prove that Joe Biden and his family benefited to the tune of $20 million? That's what we know about anyway, right? 10 family members. And
Confirmed,
this
at
isn't he
least.
said, she said, sources close to Joe Biden or the president, like we heard so much during the Trump administration. We have bank records showing that these transactions occurred in places like Ukraine, China, Kazakhstan, Russia. The question is, what do Republicans do next, Maria, as far as impeachment inquiries, and will there be accountability eventually? Because clearly the evidence is overwhelming.
I would say so. That's why Kevin McCarthy this weekend told me that it is likely that we're going to see an impeachment inquiry. House Republicans are moving forward with a plan for an inquiry which will give them more power to investigate into President Biden. In a members-only conference call, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy told GOP lawmakers Monday night that an impeachment inquiry is the natural progression from our investigation. And of course, he said that on Sunday Morning Futures. Here's Kevin McCarthy, the speaker, with me Sunday. Will you bring an impeachment inquiry against President Biden this September?
If you look at all the information we've been able to gather so far, it is a natural step forward that you would have to go to an impeachment inquiry. And just so your viewers understand what that means, that provides Congress the apex of legal power to get all the information they need. Because remember what's laying out there right now. We have an attorney general that could have lied to the American public.
He went on to say, Kenny, that you had 16 out of 17 payments to the Biden family from Romania.
Right. So I don't know what's taking so long to get this inquiry. I mean, we have the evidence. To Joe's point, you've seen money transferred from all over the world into the 20 or so LLCs that they created with 10 or 12 family members, to benefit. So what I'm confused about is we have this information. Why is it even taking this long?
Well,
it has to. It has to take time. And forgive me if I'm jumping in there, Maria, but I think it's important to understand the distinction between what was happening when Donald Trump was in office, and it seemed like every week a congressman was wildly, angrily shouting, impeach, impeach.
Right.
Whereas Kevin McCarthy is going very slowly, very deliberately. He's getting his ducks in order, not just to make the case, but also to create the contrast so that it doesn't look like just tit for tat as they go after Trump with 4 indictments. Oh, we're going to do the same with Biden. They have to go slow.
Yeah, and that's why, and he needs to do that because he didn't have the whole membership on board.
Right.
A couple of weeks ago, we were told that there were not enough votes, that there were members in New York and California who were really leery of voting yes to an impeachment inquiry. It looks like after this recess, it looks like he's got the votes in the House. I don't know that for sure, but we'll see.
Plus, it's a matter of timing, right? So right now we're in late August.
Right.
If you walk around the city or drive into the city, boy, a lot of people seem to be on vacation right now and paying attention to other things. Labor Day is this weekend, amazingly the fastest summer probably in history.
Yes,
I don't know if
I agree.
scientific evidence around that, but you want to do something like this when the American people may be more engaged. That's September when kids are back in school and we're not running around like chickens without a head as far as camps and a soccer tournament where I travel to San Diego for my 9-year-old daughter because we can't play anybody in New Jersey.
Don't forget that right now we've got a special counsel in the Hunter Biden case. That's David Weiss. This is the same person who came up with this idea to give Hunter Biden complete immunity from any future criminal charges. And that in and of itself could be an argument to get this impeachment inquiry on board, because they're going to need to get the information flow to continue. Whereas David Weiss could say, well, I'm in charge now. We're not sending the House Oversight Committee any more data.
Yeah, well, no, he has clearly said, oh, I'm in charge now. And he's done it twice. First, to try to negotiate the bogus deal to get Mr. Biden off easy, and now to, in theory, investigate him. I mean, you can't play both sides.
No, but no matter what, how can he say, or how can he prevent the data from being submitted, right? How can he just say, no, I'm not going to submit it?
Right. Well, he can say, this is now on lockdown.
Right.
I'm in charge. This is our investigation. But an impeachment inquiry
opens everything.
Opens it up for the Congress. So that's probably one of the arguments to be made.
Folks, if you're going to win re-election, I need you by my side from the very start. Whatever you're able to chip in, even if it's just
Some breaking news here. A judge has ruled against Rudy.
Okay, so why did it just show me that Joe Biden commercial? Wow. No, sir. No, Joe, go. That's what I gotta say to you, and I'm gonna smoke another cigarette about it because that's just how fucking angry you make me. There's a moral conundrum right there. He's seriously not the same person that he once was. That's the thing about Alzheimer's. They no longer remember. They don't remember if they were shitty to you or not. They don't remember if you were the best person in the world to them or not. They are completely helpless at the end. Shame on you, Jill Biden. Oh. Okay, so this is Rudy Giuliani loses major court case. I don't know what the hell this one was about. This guy it seems a little bit worked up. So his name is Brian Tyler Cohen. Any relations to the other dirtbag? Not a clue. So, I haven't dug into this guy. This is a first watch and reaction that you're seeing here.
Rudy Giuliani in a defamation case brought by Georgia poll workers Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman. There will be another trial date to determine the amount of damages that Giuliani will have to pay.
Okay. Ruby Freeman is the woman that was on the cameras sliding ballots in over and over and over from a suitcase that was pulled out from under a table while they were supposed to be shut down. I have not a clue what happened here, so let's read. PLS Giuliani Businesses Motion, ECF number 70, in the amount totaling of $43,684 with interest on that amount to accrue from September 20th to 2023 against defendant Rudolph Giuliani. Personally, if his business fail to timely comply, it is further ordered that as a sanction for defendant's failure timely to reimburse plaintiffs $89,172.50 in attorney's fees by July 25th, 2023. The jury will be instructed that they must, when determining an appropriate sum of punitive damages, infer that he is intentionally trying to hide relevant discovery about his financial assets for the purpose of artificially deflating his net worth. Unless he produces fulsome responses to plaintiffs' RFP numbers 40 and 41 by September 20th, 2023, in which case the mandatory instruction may be converted to a permissive one. So ordered. Date August 30th, 2023.
But he's already been ordered to pay $90,000 in attorney's fees for Moss and Freeman.
Wow.
But the fact that Giuliani lost this defamation lawsuit isn't exactly surprising. He actually conceded in court that he, quote, does not contest that the assertions he made about Freeman and Moss orchestrating some scheme to manipulate the vote count in Georgia, quote, were false. His court filing went on to say, Defendant Giuliani concedes solely for the purposes of this litigation that Defendant Giuliani made the statements of and concerning plaintiffs. He does not dispute for the purposes of this litigation that the statements carry meaning that is defamatory per se. In other words, he admitted to defamation in a defamation case. So of course he's forfeiting this case, what with there quite literally being no defense. But that raises the question, why? What's Giuliani's strategy here? One theory is that he was trying to avoid discovery in this case. He was afraid of what he was going to be forced to disclose in discovery, and so by conceding that he defamed the women, that put a stop to discovery, and the question just becomes one of damages. So if you're wondering whether Giuliani has something to hide, I think the answer has now become obvious. And Judge Howell agreed, writing, perhaps he has made the calculation that his overall litigation risks are minimized by not complying with the discovery obligations in this case. Whatever the reason, obligations are case-specific, and withholding required discovery in this case has consequences. Yet, just as taking shortcuts to win an election carries risks, even potential criminal liability, bypassing the discovery process carries serious sanctions, no matter what the reservations a non-compliant party may try to artificially preserve for appeal. Meaning that Giuliani might have tried to protect himself in this case and other ongoing criminal cases by limiting discovery, but that didn't come without consequences, as he'll now be hit with sanctions commensurate with his actions. Judge Howell continued with this blow, writing, donning a cloak of victimization may play well on a public stage to certain audiences, but in a court of law, this performance has served only to subvert the normal process of discovery in a straightforward defamation case, which I presume is judge speak for, your bullshit isn't going to work in here. But to that point of other ongoing criminal proceedings, there's also the strategy put forward by Giuliani that he'll concede the defamation and avoid discovery, but that his concession would be limited to civil litigation and not criminal litigation. Again, his court filing said, quote, Defendant Giuliani concedes solely for the purposes of this litigation, meaning he doesn't want it to count for any other cases, especially criminal cases. Only small problem, that's not a thing. A defamation concession in a civil case can be introduced in a separate criminal
hold on.
Case, meaning Giuliani's admission here in this defamation case can be introduced in the Fulton County criminal case against him. He might want this concession to be confined to this case, but that's not how it works. Meaning Giuliani may very well have played himself. But you know what they say, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. But let's not forget...
What if he's throwing that shit right back in the Biden's face? What if Giuliani doesn't care? Some of the worst people I've ever met are lawyers. Total shitbags. Steal all your fucking money.
What these defamatory statements actually did to Moss and Ruby Freeman. Let's not forget the human element in all of this. This was the attorney for the most powerful person on the planet, scapegoating these two poll workers because he was that desperate to try to cry fraud to find a justification to undermine a presidential election. And he decided that destroying the lives of these two women who were doing their
And you mean to tell me that Joe Biden got more votes than Barack Obama did? Come on, man.
Patriotic duty was a price that he was willing to have them pay. This is Moss and Ruby Freeman at the January 6th committee hearings.
Ms. Moss, can you describe what you experienced listening to?
Those hearings were a sham, and everybody knows it. Look at the one behind him. Look at his face. Don't look at his face. Look at his face. What is he saying? Idiots.
Former President Trump attack you and your mother in a call with the Georgia Secretary of State?
I felt horrible. I felt like it was all my fault. Like, if I would have never decided to be an elections worker, like, I could have done anything else, but that's what I decided to do. And now people are lying and spreading rumors and lies and attacking my mom, my only child, going to my grandmother's house, I'm her only grandchild, and my kid. It's just, I felt so bad. I just felt bad for my mom, and I felt horrible for picking this job and being the one that always wants to help and all.
Feel. It's your feelings. Okay, darling, we get that. I know how awful it is for someone to cyber stalk you and other things. But honey, you were also getting paycheck. Just saying.
Always there, never missing out one election. I just felt like it was my fault for putting my family in this situation.
Well, it was.
Well, also the other pertinent question that Mr. Schiff also neglected to ask you was, were you guilty or not? Did you run extra ballots in extra time? Please explain what the problem was. And don't do it through the mainstream media. Hell, get on your own TikTok and say who you were. And that no, you didn't, if you didn't. But if you stay quiet, it'll be found out eventually. Lady Justice has to find her heels.
Your fault. Your mother was kind enough to come speak with us earlier. Let's listen to her story and her words.
My name is Ruby Freeman. I've always believed that when God says that he'll make your name great, but this is not the way it was supposed to be. I could have never imagined the events that followed the presidential election 2020. For my entire professional life, I was Lady Ruby. My community in Georgia, where I was born and lived my whole life, knew me as Lady Ruby. I built my own business around that name, LaRuby's Unique Treasures, a pop-up shop catering to ladies with unique fashions. I wore a shirt that proudly proclaimed that I was, and I am, Lady Ruby. Actually, I had that shirt on. I had that shirt in every color. I wore that shirt on Election Day 2020. I haven't worn it since, and I'll never wear it again. Now I won't even introduce myself by my name anymore. I get nervous when I bump into someone I know in the grocery store who says my name. I'm worried about who's listening. I get nervous when I have to give my name for food orders. I'm always concerned of who's around me. I've lost my name, and I've lost my reputation. I've lost my sense of security, all because a group of people, starting with number 45 and his ally, Rudy Giuliani, decided to scapegoat me and my daughter, Shay, to push their own lies about how the presidential election was stolen.
If that doesn't break your heart, then you might not have one. Which is why the damages that Rudy will be forced to pay is the bare minimum of justice for these women. Of course, it still remains to be seen whether he'll actually be able to pay it, considering these impending damages only add to Giuliani's financial troubles. According to recent reporting, the disgraced New York City mayor recently traveled to Mar-a-Lago to personally appeal to Donald Trump to pay his legal bills. According to that same reporting, Trump didn't seem all that interested. According to a CNN source, Trump has thus far only agreed to cover a small fee from a data vendor hosting Giuliani's records. Months later, Trump's PAC paid that vendor. Giuliani's attorney even appeared in court this month and told a New York State judge that his client didn't have the money to pay additional legal costs associated with his Smartmatic lawsuit, claiming financial hardship. I don't know. I'm starting to think that throwing your life away for a notorious con man might not have been the most lucrative strategy for Rudy Giuliani. So now we'll await the amount of damages that Giuliani will have to pay, which I should note can never be high enough to compensate for what he knowingly did to Shea Moss and Ruby Freeman. He took away their safety and their happiness, all because, again, he needed a scapegoat while lying about non-existent fraud, all for the express purpose of trying to anoint the loser of the election the winner. It is a pure, abject, unadulterated con. If Giuliani ends this process with even a dime in his pocket, that'll be too much. But again, all the money in the world isn't worth the pain that he's caused as the result of this misguided crime spree. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to the channel and do your...
No, don't think so.
Ready, set, get to Kohl's now.
Where
For
are
clearance
those
savings
Kohl's?
too good to miss. Save up to...
White House correspondent Peter Ducey is at the White House press briefing he was a couple moments ago, and in that briefing, he pressed Karine Jean-Pierre on the response to Hurricane Idalia compared to the president's response to the Maui wildfires. Take a listen to this.
Okay, and it seems like the hurricane response so far is robust. Did you guys realize that the initial Hawaii wildfire response was not that good? Or is it just easier for people to get help from the White House when the president is not on vacation?
So the premise of your question and the way you posed your question, I disagree, just for the record. So if you were to do your reporting and speak to the governor of Hawaii, the senators of Hawaii, the folks on the ground, they would say that the president reacted in record time when it came to dealing with the wildfires, when it came to dealing and making sure that they got everything that they need on the federal level to deal with what was going on the ground. Let's not forget, there were more than 600 federal employees on the ground already to assist with the wildfires in Maui. So your question is wrong, it's flawed in many, many ways, and I would advise you to go speak to the governor and the local and state officials in Hawaii.
You know, critics could read that as if you go talk to the Democratic politicians in the state of Hawaii, they will tell you that the president did a good job. But when you hear from some of the people on the ground, they were very unhappy with the response from the federal government to what happened, and they feel that they went days without an appropriate response.
And I think words are very different than actions. Actions speak louder, right? And obviously now we're watching what's happening down in Florida, and we're seeing how Governor DeSantis is responding. I'm interested to hear from some political pundits out there and on how they make this juxtaposition between how the governor is responding to this situation, this hurricane, and how the president is. We're supposed to hear from him at some point today. We haven't yet, so we'll bring you that as soon as he makes his way to the podium.
And don't forget, people in the Lahaina area weren't just complaining about the federal government; they were complaining about the local response as well, and
total response.
Also, the power company there. So,
hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to
really
subscribe
hamming it up,
to Fox
man.
News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews.
I'm going to tell you a couple of really, really good stories first. Let me tell you about the kid in Colorado. Jaden is a 12-year-old boy. He attends Vanguard School, Colorado Springs, Colorado. He's in this video. You may have seen it. It went viral on social media. It shows he and his mom confronting a school board administrator who says that he has to take the Gadsden flag patch off of his backpack because it's too disruptive. And they're like, it's too disruptive? What are you talking about? It's too disruptive. We don't want the flag displayed in school because of its origins with slavery and the slave trade.
Oh yeah, because also, did you not hear, everyone, that the FBI put that on one of their targeting lists? It's like waving a red flag in front of a bull. I don't know. I just want to completely avoid conflict.
Now, I'm just trying to figure that one out historically. I mean, I can't, I don't know. Don't tread on me. How does that relate to the slave trade at all? Okay, it doesn't. It clearly doesn't. And these are the kind of boobs that we have running our schools.
He said
all right?
boobs.
They have no idea what they're even talking about. Now, Jaden, who is kicked out of class for having the patch.
What? Oh no, what?
Says there's no origins of slavery. This 12-year-old, no origins of slavery. And the school's director says, well, this is being very disruptive in the school environment. So they removed him from class. Mom fought back against it, explaining the coiled snake above the phrase, don't tread on me, is not a pro-slavery image. It has origins in the Revolutionary War. It was a symbol of resistance to British tyranny.
Mm-hmm.
I'm free, don't tread on me. So you could say it's actually an anti-slavery. If you want to talk about slavery, it would be anti-slavery because it came from the North. It came from New England. New England had already banned slavery, but it's not about that at all. It's not. It's about the British tyranny. Don't tread on me. So now all these experts are like, no, it's slavery. It's slavery. You know, it's connected to patriot groups. Okay. All right. So wait, the flag chose to be part of a patriot group? The flag's like, the snake's like, I just love white people. Is that what happened? Jeez. Libertarians have adapted this. Lefty groups, a pro-LGBT group has adopted it as well. It's really nothing to do with a snake. The snake was sewn on or printed on. I don't know if you... It's kind of like a gun. The gun didn't make the decision. The person did. So, this is a flag that's already gone through the government. EEOC, they were like, somebody was suing because the Gadsden flag is slavery. EEOC said, yeah, no, it's not a racist symbol. Okay, so the EEOC, I don't think I've ever agreed with anything the EEOC has ever done. So the ruling has come out. The school cannot discriminate against Jaden's viewpoint by declaring that this is just, a racist symbol and one that will be disruptive. Even the governor of Colorado, a Democrat, said the Gadsden flag is a proud symbol of American Revolution and an iconic warning to Britain or any government not to violate the liberties of Americans. Yeah, it's almost like it's appropriate today when they're telling you can't speak out at the school board meeting. Isn't it? Don't tread on me seems like a pretty good motto. Or when they're telling you, stay at home. You're killing every grandmother on the planet. Wear this mask. Could I have the don't tread on me flag?
It's going to happen one way or another. We all have to accept it.
Tag on the mask? Could I do that? That would be weird. I wonder if you put a mask and the don't tread on me flag together, if they cancel each other out and disappear. Most people don't know that the snake was really a important symbol for our founders. The snake and the skull. The skull usually would have a crown above it, and it represented no king but God. The king dies, and he becomes a skeleton. So no king but God. The snake was selected because it doesn't want to bite you. It's just sitting there in the grass. It's like sunning itself. It's like, the sun is so great. And you come walking along, and what does it do? It doesn't sneak up on you and bite you. It rattles. Stop where you are. I mean, I have a ranch. Rattlesnakes everywhere. I kind of like it because it's extra security. Come across that field. Do it. Rattlesnakes everywhere. Now, if you're smart, you're paying attention. Those like booby traps. But these booby traps, they actually rattle before they bite. Stay away from me. Don't walk on me or I'll bite. That's why our founders loved it. It wasn't an aggressive thing. Well, I mean, if you're a mouse, but if you're a human, it's not an aggressive thing. It's minding its own business. You know, the very first political cartoon ever done in America was done by Benjamin Franklin, and it was a rattlesnake. And it looks pretty much like that snake on Don't Tread on Me. It was a rattlesnake. And it was cut into 13 pieces. And it had on each piece, each state or each colony. And underneath it just said, unite or die. Meaning we could all go our own separate ways. The king will cut us up. We'll help him. Or we could join together and live. I bring this up because, by the way, the kid who is fantastic. I love this kid. This kid, by the way, his favorite book is The Creature from Jekyll Island by the Tuttle Twins. Love this kid, okay? He knows what he's talking about. He's back in school with the flag on his backpack today. Congratulations.
Good.
Now, I see a lot of things that are happening.
Yeah, I really think that school administrator, I think her license for teaching or being a part of school administration, I think she needs to turn in her resignation. That's what I'd be calling for. That was proven blatant stupidity.
Happening at the state level, even in states like Colorado. Colorado just put in their house, Coloradans, people from Colorado decided that they really thought this teacher, who is a Marxist and wants a Mao-like cultural revolution. He talks about an aggressive cultural revolution. That's code for Mao.
Yeah.
They just elected him and put him in the House.
What?
Okay, it's their state. You can do it. You also have people like this now.
Everybody.
The question is,
Colorado,
and I mean this sincerely.
we'll see you in a few cycles. Y'all are gonna turn into the next San Francisco. Good job.
The time is coming when we are in real trouble. Real trouble. I don't know if you saw Tucker on X yesterday. He did an interview with Viktor Orban from Hungary. Okay, that's a little frightening.
Yeah, I
Viktor
watched
Orban's
it.
like, yeah, World War III. Everybody here knows. Ukraine is losing. There's no way to win. You gotta make peace right now, because the only thing you can do is start sending boots on the ground to help them, because they're out. You do that, it's World War III. You start sending the...
Uh-oh. And yes, I watched that on Twitter yesterday. One of those oh my moments. But I've been having fluctuations right when I wake up and through lunchtime usually, so That's when I was able to catch Tucker on X, which I think that's the best troll there. Good job, Elon. That's pretty funny. Tucker on X. He doesn't do drugs, you idiots. Oh my. So I don't even know where I was going with that one. Just rambling tonight.
The jet's over and everything else, World War III. He'll use a nuke. He will. You should probably trust the people who...
Oh yeah, and also Alex Jones had, one of his big big ones is that we'll see nukes before 2024 even gets here. Or no, how did he say it? He predicted that there would be a nuclear use before the general elections. So that's what he's predicting. Who's going to set it off? Who knows? But it's just been like one thing after another, after another, after another, ever since the orange man came down the escalator. My God, if you take your eyes off of the news for 1 week, it feels like you are behind an entire year. And there are too many players in this fucking web of deceit. But if you want to get rid of the deep swamp, deep states, the swamp, what have you, you need to get rid of the lobbyists as well. And those are the adult children with interests of and politicians. Hunter Biden is the example I am talking about. The adult children of the politicians themselves. What businesses do they run? What perks are they getting from their parent being on whatever committee?
Who have been taken by the former Soviet Union and have lived next to Russia our whole existence, you should probably listen to us. I mean, there's an ocean between you and us. You may not know what's best. I think he's right on that. But as tough times come, and if you live in Washington, D.C., there's no way you get a fair trial. No way. I think if you live in New York City, there's no way you get a fair trial. If it's political. If you're like, yeah, my child is my child, not your child. They're not going to get a sex change. No. You're not going to get a fair trial. California, do you really think? Now, things are changing, for instance, in Washington, D.C. I don't know if you've seen the climate activists that have glued themselves to the roadway again. Honestly, I just think, did you see I think it was in New Mexico, but it was on the native side. I think it was on the Navajo Nation. Burning Man was happening, and these dopes just blocked traffic, and traffic was blocked forever. And they were on the Navajo side. So the Navajo Rangers came. They just took their truck and went through the blockade and then turned around and started going. And the kids were like, they can't do that. What are they doing? We're not violent. Well, you can't. And the guy gets out of the truck with his gun. He's like, get out on the ground right now. And he's aggressive. Yeah, he's aggressive. And these hippies are like, oh, you can't do that. Yeah. You're in a different country. You don't think you are, but you are. You're in the Navajo Nation now, and they don't play by the same rules.
Mm-hmm.
Just got my outdoor solar flame light torches from InspireUplift.com. Nice little design. Hard plastic, looks durable. And then installation isn't.
That would not survive.
In Washington, D.C., all of these climate activists were out, and people were blocked. Now, this has happened 2 days in the last 2 weeks. People are blocked for like an hour, 2 hours. They're just blocked. And they're getting out of their cars, and they are starting to accost these people. And they're like, what do you think you're doing? I have a house payment. I have a car payment. I'm raising kids. I'm trying to feed my family. Get the hell out of the street. And it's getting ugly. It's getting really ugly. The people, the good news is, I think the people have had enough of this. They've had enough. For that to happen even in Washington, D.C., that's interesting. So now they took a chisel and got the guy's hand, off of the concrete, but they were all arrested. They'll be back because they think they're Martin Luther King. So they'll be back. But the question is, which way is your state going? And should we consider, because I know I moved to Texas for a reason. I have a ranch in Idaho for a reason. I bet on 2 states. There's other states that I'm sure might, actually stand too, and these 2 states might eventually fall. I don't know. But I bet on 2 states. I didn't want to be in New York. Those people will eat you. They will. It's going to get when there's no food, and, because of, the Green New Deal, when all of that wind power is producing all the electricity that it's supposed to produce, and nobody has any power, and you're in Washington, D.C., and you're in a skyscraper 55, 60 stories tall with people in it and their children, and they're all hungry. I don't know. Some new recipes might be tried out. I'm just saying. Or do we stay in those places because we know that our founder said, unite or die? And what we're doing is we're separating ourselves. I don't have an answer for this. I really don't. I'm really struggling with this. Do we unite or do we separate? Do we balkanize? Bad idea. But is it the only idea? I don't know. Because I got to tell you, I'll never go to Washington, D.C. Never again. Because I know if I'm arrested for some political reason, I'll never get a fair trial. Never. Never. That's not good.
The reason I put lead gen on a license plate Lamborghini is because the fastest way that I found to 6 figures a month and 7 figures a year in revenue. I do it all working from home as a 1-employee company. I've helped Conrad generate his first 6-figure month. I've helped Carlos generate his first 7-figure month. Absolutely amazing. I've helped other people either just make money.
The, by far, front runner for the Republican nomination and the most persecuted man in, I believe, American history, the former president of the United States, President Donald Trump. Welcome to the program, sir. How are you?
Well, thank you, Glenn. I'm fine. You're probably right about that. Sadly, the most persecuted.
Yeah, you are.
I've never heard it put quite as succinctly, but it's probably true.
So let me ask you, you've seen the deep state. We now all know what you saw was true and deeper than I think any of us knew.
Yeah, you know the process now, so you should be able to get all that shit done within, I don't know, less than a week this time. You should already have everybody that you're going to have appointed on that list. You should already know. You got to find out exactly how the entire fucking thing works, so I'm going to hold you to that, Orange Man. You want my vote again? You better at least get there. Don't screw up.
They've weaponized everything. They are serious about trying to put you in prison. Can I ask, will you and can you run a campaign from a jail cell?
Well, I don't think that's ever happening. We have a great case. Every case is a scam. This is just like Russia. Remember, I was going to be guilty with Russia. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, with 18 radical Democrats and Bob Mueller, the Mueller report said there was no collusion. Everyone had a heart attack. And then they started Ukraine. Then they started lying on Pfizer reports. These are bad people. These are sick people. And now we have the biggest lead I've ever had. The debate, I actually went up after the debate, as you know. We did your friend Tucker's interview,
Yes.
and he had 261 million people, which is an all-time record.
Yeah.
You know, the perfect troll would be is that you go on Joe Rogan, Orange Man. Be the perfect troll to do that in the second debate. That would be so funny. Joe Rogan, make it happen. Come on. You need to let it go. Let it go. We need you to grill him. We need to have answers of why he allowed Fauci to take over the whole thing. We need to at least know that. Please, Rogan. You want to put up $100,000 to a charity of Peter Hotez just to debate RFK? Well, come on, man. Interview the Orange Man and break his ego. Break his ego down. Don't bullshit. You are one of the best interviewers ever. So, please get the Orange Man on there. Ask him these things. And you need to at least, kind of, you need to be that bridge for the politically homeless people have somewhere to go. And it seems like you're one of the guys that they're wanting to throw their lot in with. Actually be a good example.
Yeah.
So when you say, like, I didn't do a debate, I actually didn't do a debate, but I had 261 million people listening versus 11 million, which they had, which was one of the lowest rated debates. So I went up fairly substantially after that. And I think the fake indictment that they did in Georgia was very helpful. And then they insisted on a mugshot, and somehow it turned out to be very iconic.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I don't know how you do it every day. I really don't. I would have lost my mind a long time ago. You said in 2016, lock her up. And then when you became president, you said, we don't do that in America. That's just not the right thing to do. That's what they're doing. Do you regret not locking her up? And if you're president again, will you lock people up?
Well, I'll give you an example. The answer is you have no choice because they're doing it to us. I always had such great respect for the office of the president, the presidency, but the office of the president, and I never hit Biden as hard as I could have. And then I heard he was trying to indict me, and it was him that was doing it. You know, I don't think he's sharp enough to think about much, but he was there, and he was probably the one giving the order. But he was, hard to believe that he even thinks about that because he's gone. But then I said, well, they're actually trying to indict me because every one of these indictments is him, including Bragg. Bragg put his top people. I don't know if you know this. He put his top person into the office of the Manhattan District Attorney. They've been in total coordination with Fannie Willis. The woman that I never met that they accused me of rape, that's being run by a Democrat operative and paid for by the Democrat Party. So many of these things. I have a couple of other lawsuits, all funded against me by the Democrat. These are sick people. These are evil people. And it's an amazing thing. We talk about the public. The public is smarter than anyone can imagine because they understand what's happening. It's really actually driven. I was doing very well before this stuff, but it's really driven my poll numbers up. And you look at these, they're saying I don't have a right to challenge an election. And I did something, and I have to get it to you like immediately yesterday, where we put in all of the Democrats over the last 15, 20 years that have been challenging elections. And this tape, the problem is it would go on for 2 hours.
Yeah. We have 25 minutes of it. I mean, it's crazy.
You got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Did you get that from me? Did my office send that in?
I don't know. I don't remember where we. Do you remember, Stu? But we have it. We've played it. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's
incredible. It does.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop.
No.
I mean, it doesn't stop. It just keeps going and going.
So
and much nastier. I mean, I'm like a kind person by comparison. They're calling for debt.
I know.
Maxine Waters is crazy. She's like a crazy lunatic. The way she talks about people, go into restaurants and beat them up and things. You know, her statements are just unbelievable. But a lot of them are unbelievable, and nobody talks about them. Hillary Clinton, who called up and conceded the night of the election, and a week later she started saying that she won the election. Not that she said, I didn't win. I didn't win. You know, it's all not. And then she made up the Russia hoax. And then after 2 years, I won that. And then they go into Ukraine. No, these are sick people.
I know.
But the public gets it. They get it almost as well as you do.
So, Mr. President, we have so many problems. I got a call from a Democrat just last week, and she said, Glenn, I'm thinking about voting for a Republican, and I'm still a Democrat. She said, but I'm on a fixed income. I know for a fact what I used to have in my pocket at the end of every month is now not even there at the end of every week. They are hurting. People feel like the Republic is over. A lot of people look at what's going on and say, this can't last. Can you give people hope that change can happen and you can bring things back, a republic and an economy?
So, Glenn, I can. Look, we had this running until COVID, 2.5 years. It was the greatest economy in the history of the world. Everybody was happy. African Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, women, men, people with diplomas from MIT and people with no diplomas from high school. Everybody was happy. And frankly, I was getting calls from people on the left and even the radical left, get together. This country was coming together. Then we got hit with COVID. We did a great job with COVID. It has never been acknowledged, but it will be in history. We did a great job with the ventilators and all the things we did, because nobody knew what it was. Nobody had any clue as to what it was. And we did a great job. And when we handed it back over after a terrible, terrible election, I mean, they used COVID, they cheated. Even if you just go by what they did with legislators and legislatures, what they did with the consent decree in Georgia, the signing of that consent decree was by Raffensperger and the governor. The signing of that consent decree was the end of Georgia. That was the beginning of the end. And then when Doug Collins didn't get in, instead of picking, you would have had Purdue, you would have had Collins. It would have been like a routine thing.
But if you look at those things,
Georgia was so badly hurt. But the signing of that consent decree, and frankly, going around legislatures and not getting approvals and running these elections the way they ran them was a disgrace.
But
I got more votes than any sitting president in history by far, by millions.
I know.
And it's a very, very sad thing that happened to us.
So let me ask you, because you talk about what has happened in the past. I look at the GOP, the head of the chair of the RNC, tweeted on the day that you had the mugshot, her excitement for the convention to come to Houston in 2028. They're not. I mean, the GOP is not at their post. And Wisconsin, Georgia, Pennsylvania, the GOP has not been changing the things that happened last time in the election. They haven't shored those up. How do we ensure that we have a real election if the GOP won't do anything?
Yeah, you're not wrong. Look, I've been complaining they're not tough enough. The Democrats are dirty players. They lie, they cheat. What they did was unbelievable with ballots, with every conceivable form of cheating. And that includes, if you think, even the FBI. How about the FBI Twitter? Then you have the DOJ and Facebook, and you have all of these things that happen. And it was incredible what they did. And they used COVID to do it. But, I'll tell you, my two questions that I'm asked most often is, the first is, how do you take it? How do you live? How do you take it? And I get that asked from very successful people like you, but I get that asked by the most successful people that have been tough and smart. They say, could I ask you something, President? How do you take it? And I take it because I take it. I mean, I sometimes say, do I have a choice? These people are crazy. But, I've been taking it from the day I came down the escalator. They made up that Russia hoax when I went up to number one in the polls. If I wasn't polling, if I were doing in fourth place like almost everybody, they're all gone. The Republicans are all gone. They're way down. DeSanctimony is a very disloyal guy. He's so far down. I think he's probably not even going to be in second place much longer. But I'm 40, 50 points ahead of all the Republicans. But they say, how do you take it? The fact that there's such love of what we stand for, and what we stand for is a great economy, strong borders, all of it's going to come back. The hardest thing to cure is going to be the millions and millions of people that they allowed into our country. They allow millions of people. And Glenn, these are people from prisons, from jails. These are people from mental institutions, and you can call them insane asylums, which is a step above. These are the people that they're allowing into our country, and they're a terrorist. They're a terrorist coming into our country, and they're just walking in, and they're totally, nobody knows who they are, what they are, where they are. It's what they're doing to our country is either a death wish. They're not stupid, because anybody that could cheat that way in elections is not stupid. But what they are is, I believe they might hate our country. They have to.
You think they might? They might hate our country.
No, and who can want open borders?
Right.
Who can want no voter ID? They have a thing for voter ID. They fight voter ID viciously. Why don't you want voter ID? Because you want to cheat. And if you think about it, they have to cheat. Because who's going to vote for open borders, high taxes, high interest rates, bad economy, weak military, a woke military, believe it or not. I defeated ISIS with our military. I did it in 4 weeks. I took out ISIS. I was told by certain generals that are television generals it would take years. And I flew to Iraq, and I came back with some incredible information, and I knocked out ISIS in 4 weeks. Our military is incredible. They don't get the credit. But then you see in Afghanistan, I was all forgetting. I'm the one that got the troops down.
I know.
But you have to keep Bagram, and you have to take our soldiers out last, not first. What they did is so horrible. And I believe it was the lowest point in the history of our country. What happened, that withdrawal, the way they withdrew from Afghanistan was the lowest.
Well, it was exactly identical how they pulled out of Saigon. And you want to take a guess of who was the person that held that up? He's sitting in the Oval Office. That's who did that.
In the history of our country. But we'll bring it back.
Okay, so
bring back the economy, and we're going to bring back the strong border.
Last question. You said that you weren't going, but you would be watching the debate for a vice president. Have you thought of Vice President Ramaswamy?
Well, I think he's great. Look, anybody that said I'm the best president in a generation, I don't know, you'll have to define generation, but it's a long time. And he said it a couple of times, and he said it in 100 years. So I have to like a guy like that. I can't get upset with him. But he's a smart guy. He's a young guy. He's got a lot of talent. He's a very intelligent person. He's got good energy, and he could be in some form of something. I tell you, I think he'd be very good. I think he's very good. I think he's really distinguished himself. He's starting to get out there a little bit. He's getting a little bit controversial. I got to tell him, be a little bit careful, because some things you have to hold in just a little bit, right? But he's got a lot of good energy, I will tell you, and he's been very nice to me, and most of them have, other than Christie. Don't forget, Christie left with an 8% approval rating.
Oh yeah, it was
horrible. He left, and he was tied up in Bridgegate. The whole thing.
Yeah.
It was a mess. He was a disaster.
It was amazing how there is the new generation and the old generation of Republicans that just seem to be completely out of touch with what time it is. So
they don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't. And Mitch McConnell, Mitch has to go. He's given them trillions of dollars that he could have stopped. Now they're campaigning on the fact that they have trillions of dollars. That was given by Mitch and 10 of his people. that voted as he demanded that they vote. And, you know, it's not that he's a leader. He raises a lot of money and he gives it to senators.
Yeah, no,
And it's sort of like he buys his leadership. It's
exactly
terrible.
right.
But he gave them all of this Green New Deal money, and it's probably $9 trillion if you add it up. And it's like throwing it out the window. It's a horrible thing. And it does cause inflation, but it's like throwing it out the window. It's a horrible thing.
President Donald Trump, thank you very much, sir. We pray for you. Millions of Americans stand behind you, and I hope more and more Americans wake up to the circus that we've turned our country into with this persecution of you. But thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and we're going to make America great again. You watch. It's going to happen fast. It's going to happen fast, and I appreciate it very much. And you're a brave voice. You are a very brave voice and have been for a long time. Thank you, Glenn.
You bet.
All right, so that was my lineup for tonight, and that's about all I have for you. Yep, that was it. Entire playlist done for Wickedshizuku's Thoughts on News. So you got to see me pretty bad tonight. No, wasn't so great. So, if this was an amusing episode to you, please comment, share, like, subscribe, do all of that great shit. Really help me out. Let's see what comes next. Next episode in Friday, or coming Friday. So, I shall see you then. Nighty night, pretties.